Hey there, this is Malorian, and this is going to be a Paintisode. So Paintisodes, you don't need to be watching me. The whole premise is that I'm going to be painting, you'll be painting, and then after about an hour, I'll be, hopefully entertaining you while we do this, and then I'll have some painted stuff, you'll have some painted stuff, and if you have any questions, you can post them up here. I'll talk about those. Otherwise, I'll be talking about whatever. So I got a little bit of War Machine in my mind, a little bit of board games, a little bit of other stuff, and so I'll be talking about whatever. We'll see who pops in. So what I should be painting is, one of the things is, I got this big guy here, which is the Galleon. That is one of the Colossals from the Mercenaries, and I've come up with a crazy list that uses it in my Signar, and I could be using that one. However, at the last tournament I was at, one of the guys who's on the council for picking the teams for Team Canada was saying, you know what, we need someone who's not doing just jank. We need someone who's really solid with Signar, and I should really be focusing on this other guy called Siege Brisbane. So I should be painting him. But he wasn't even primed, so I just primed him now. Maybe I can do him the next Paintisode. So instead, I am doing Sloan. So Sloan, kind of our sniper caster. I kind of threw some 3 fast colors on her before just to kind of make her look not total crap on the board. But hopefully today I'll be, at an hour, I should be able to be painting her. I have some stories about Sloan from some arguments I had, of course, on the forums, right? Where else are you going to have arguments if not on the forums? And there's even 2 different forums you can go to for War Machine. There's either the Privateer Press actual forums, or on Facebook, they have their own little ones on there too. And where this one took place was on the Facebook one. And what happened there is somebody came on there and said, hey guys, I am in a Legion heavy meta, and it's mainly Veil 2, and I'm having some trouble. So I mean, what's your main Legion drop? And surprisingly, a lot of people are like, Sloan's the way to go. And in their credit, Sloan does fairly well against Legion Beasts, because Legion Beasts usually rely more on their defense and their ability to alpha strike. And so if you have something that can reliably shoot it from range, they do not like that at all. And she's really good for that, because she has, her battle group that's going to get all those shots. It's all boosted, and you can easily take off a couple of beasts on her feed turn, no problem. So in that regard, yeah, that would be a great idea to take. However, Legion also has something called Epic Lilith, and she is devastating to be dealing with when you have shooting, because what Epic Lilith does for your battle group is she gives the whole battle group stealth. And that's a huge deal, because for those who don't know what stealth is, say, like, if you're not, probably because you don't play War Machine, what it means is if you're more than 5 inches away, you just miss. So really, if you are trying to take a shooty army against that and you just can't deal with that stealth, you just lose. There's just nothing you can do. And so my comment was, well, I would not go with Sloan. I would go with Kane 2. Kane 2 is great against Epic Veil. You can go and try and shoot her down, shoot her beast down, and then even if it's Epic Lilith, then you have that true shot, and you can be trying to shoot down those. Well, man, it was a huge fight, and I bet you what they are just as a bunch of Sloan fanboys, because really one of Sloan's biggest negatives is that it seems that anything that she does well, a lot of people say Kane 2 does better. And I mean, it's not 100% true. There are definitely things that Sloan does better. And so the people that love Sloan really try and come to their side. But anyway, what I'm trying to get to is these guys just would not let up. When I'm trying to explain to them just what the situation is, like, oh no, Sloan is awesome. We can shoot down all these beasts. Well, do you realize you can't see them? Oh yeah, well, Sloan can see stealth as long as she aims. Well, okay, well then you're really, really, really limiting where you can be, right? And Legion is going to be getting the alpha on you, can be lighting you on fire. It's just layers upon layers of bad news for the Sloan player. But over and over again, they're like, oh no, Malorian, you're just a troll. You're just refusing to listen to logic. And it's just, after a while of, me, it wasn't so much a thing of pride for me or like, oh yeah, I got to win this argument. It's me knowing that there's a poster out there who originally put up this topic, and I don't want them walking away, them thinking like, Sloan is the way to beat Legion. That's your drop and the one to take. And then all of a sudden they come up against Epic Lilith, and their force is just completely useless. So I don't know. I said my part, reiterated it, kept on trying to be tactful and logically show their errors, but in the end, I just had to walk away because was not worth my time. When you got people that are just not listening, why even bother with the breath, right? So far we're looking, this is actually, it's kind of nice. Before I just had her completely all black, and now just putting on the silver on the armor, you can already kind of see the way that she is going to be going. So it's, it's nice already. And like I just said, I mean, Sloan, she's kind of interesting. I have kind of a list I want to be trying out with her. Clearly, there will be limitations, so you need a secondary list that can help with that. For example, I could be running Sloan with my Epic Haley list. And, oh, okay, do you have stealth? Do you just shut down shooting? Great, I'm just going to go up there and swarm you with dudes. So, you can make up for those things that way. And to be honest, I mean, a lot of times, even though Kane 2 can deal with Epic Lilith, already in my pairing, I was using Haley 2 for that because it's just, that Lilith 2 is just so dangerous. You just blink and you're dead. And I'd rather not have to deal with that stress. Shoulder pads. Also, I'm going to have to kind of deal with kind of like make up detail, because the way that this model is supposed to be is just kind of like holding her big rifle up in the air. And I don't know who does that, who just walks around with their sniper rifle pointed straight up. I know others do a huge conversion on her, so she's actually, aiming and all that kind of a cool pose. I at least made it so that she was kind of like resting it, but in doing that, I had to kind of cut up her elbow. So I'm going to have to kind of just almost paint in the details, because it's not like I green stuffed over a new elbow pad when this is all done. So really, I'll just have to kind of just paint it on, and, especially from a distance, even up close, like right here, I would not tell that that's not the way it's supposed to be. When I start seeing it from certain angles, it's like, oh, okay, I see what happened there, but it's not too bad. We have had a couple of viewers pop in and out. Again, if you have something you're wanting me to talk about, if you don't like War Machine and you want me to talk about something else, I can. Just let me know. Going on to one of the board game things I want to talk about, because I'm also really big into board games. One of the ones I just recently bought that I've been wanting to play for a long time is called Shadows over Camelot. Now, this game is, I saw it first on Geek and Sundry. They have Will Wheaton on there doing one called Tabletop. Looking forward to him coming back this month to doing his next season, which we paid him $1 million to do, so it's about time he did it. But the game looked great. Basically, you're these knights. You're trying to complete these quests, and you want to do it before you lose in a number of different ways. And so that's all well and good, but one of the very most important parts of the whole thing is at the very beginning, everybody is handed an allegiance card, and so one of you could be a traitor. And of course, if there's a traitor, it just gets that much harder. But it's just a really fun game. You get to have lots of fun with it. One of the things that's one of my favorite rule about that game is sometimes you can really math this stuff out because it is at its core a card playing game where you're trying to get doubles and triples or straights and whatever. And so you could say, all right, well, what do you have? You have the 1, 2, 3, perfect. I got the 4, 5. We'll meet here. We can make this work over this many turns. But what it says in the rules is that you can't talk about that stuff. You'd have to say like, oh, Sir Galahad, can you join me in this quest? I can get the fight started if you can help me finish the battle in its later stages. And although you can kind of get to the same idea, if nothing else, it just helps put the character more into the game, and as well puts that little bit more of uncertainty to it. So I mean, like, what does that person mean? Does he have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3? Do they just have the 1? You know, and some of the guys, especially when you start losing, we had it where they started pushing it a little, and they're like, okay, I just don't have the last one and stuff like that. And you have to kind of stop and say like, okay, guys, look here, you know, you're not supposed to be doing that. I realize we might just lose, but you know, that's what happens sometimes. That's okay. It's just a game. But no, it was really lots of fun. I got myself killed because you have 4 hit points and you can lose one to do a second action. So to try and help us get some quests done, I went down low knowing I could heal myself later. But then my wife drew a card which got me killed. So, you know, it's not too bad. And that sometimes seems bad about a board game too. When you die early in the game and you're forced to watch the other people keep on playing. But it's really not that bad in this one, just because it's so interesting, like what bad action you're going to take and all the rest of it. Now, from a model perspective, one thing that's interesting about the game is that the board itself is really nice. You have this massive board that has your regular, this is where Camelot is, there's these quests, there's these sideboards, and they all look really nice, nice art and color and stuff. But then you have these models. So there's a model for each of the knights. There is a model for these warriors that could be attacking you. There's these models for the catapults, for the different relics you can get, and they're just base gray. And almost even worse, because there's like the red, the yellow, the blue knight, which really, you know, they all confer to, you know, Sir Kay or Sir whoever. The bottom of their base, so they're just plain gray, and then the bottom of the base is just kind of like sprayed whatever. You can tell that there's like a dozen of these lined up, and they just quickly sprayed the bottom. And so, to me, I've never had this before. Whenever there was, say, Warhammer Quest or something like that, where there are these models, I never felt the need to actually go in and paint those models. I do for these. I don't know what it is. I just really want to paint them. And in fact, instead of doing her, I was thinking about starting to paint some little catapults already, but I don't have them primed and they weren't ready. So we've had multiple people pop in and out. I'm going to see if we have any questions here. And again, for you guys watching, if you have something specifically about your faction or anything you want me to talk about, just let me know, and I'll talk about that stuff. So for myself, again, really focusing on the Signar, and especially now with me almost getting the blessing from that one guy who's going to be doing part of the picking the team of like, yeah, we've seen that you've really improved your game, and we really need you to be that Signar guy for Alberta. You know, that's great. So it's nice to know that you know, me giving up fantasy and focusing on War Machine is not for nothing, and it is being noticed. And hey, you know, since I've done that in the last event, like 2 back, I was able to get second place. In this last one here, I got third place. So, you know, I'm doing well, and I'm placing in all the events I'm going to. So that's a good start at it. Now to start putting on the brown. And again, too, love to see what you guys are working on. Meanwhile, I saw that on Anthony's channel is that he is putting up his Dystopian War battle reports. Now, I've never played, I've never done a demo game or anything like that, but I have watched it been played. There definitely is a good-sized group around here that plays Dystopian Wars. During the tournaments like Onslaught, they have them being played. There is not, you know, you're not getting the 40-odd players like you do for 40K or Fantasy, but, you know, and I believe in the previous one they had a dozen people. Not sure how many people they had here, but it's definitely a game that has some following. Nothing that I'm really interested in getting into, but it'll be neat, if anything, just to be watching Anthony's take on it, because he's more of a competitive player. And one of my first questions always about a new system is, okay, did the developers do their homework? Did they make sure that everything is balanced? Or is it pretty silly and like, oh, just take this type of ship or this type of thing? The interesting thing about Dystopian Wars is that whereas normally you either have your naval battle games or your you know, aerial battles, or you have your regular foot soldier battles, in Dystopian Wars you're doing all three at the same time. So you're playing on these maps that have you know, water all over, and then there's also islands, and of course you can have things flying around too. So you're trying to do the balance of all three. From what I've heard, because islands tend to be less important, getting the land things don't really matter. But again, I you know, don't base your dystopian tactics off of me. This is really just from the little bit that I watched and kind of perceived, where there's very, very little islands. Okay, where there were islands, people just weren't even using them. They were really just doing their own little fights. So interesting to see, at least from watching Anthony. You know, he'll describe, oh, I took this because this is tactically important because of that. So, and I'm sure he will get some backlash, unfortunately, where people are going to say, oh, Anthony, that's not fantasy, it sucks. And that's really too bad, because, you know, getting that exposure to these different games is important, and it's good for people to know before they go in. You know, maybe you have some friends that love fantasy or love War Machine, but you know what? They want to diversify. They like doing different different formats now and then. And maybe the one that they're looking into is actually Dystopian Wars. Well, if you want to know how it works, you need a guy like Anthony who is going to run that demo on their channel to see how it goes. It's just how kind of like I was looking at Long Island Wargaming to figure out and learn how the Wartime works. You know, it's a game that I always had heard about, heard it was a really good game, but I'd never watched it. I never knew how the thing worked. I heard it's based off of cards or something like that, but no, that's Malifaux. But yeah, it was interesting to see that. Good as well to see that. I mean, well, we'll have to see what happens. Long Island Wargaming was back, and he did a couple of videos, but now it's quiet again. It's one of those things where, you know, it could just be that he hasn't made a video for a week, and because of that, oh, what's going on? Is he already gone? But all right, we'll check for questions again. Hopefully I can get a dialogue going with you guys. I'm going to try and do these the same time every single week to make sure that I can have you guys watching, and so you can have me talk about what you want me to talk about. Otherwise, I'll just be talking about my own thing. So where we are so far with this model is I've done a lot of the regular silver work, put on her belt. One of the other main colors I have going with these casters is also the black and red. She has kind of this model. Sometimes I've seen that so awkwardly thrown into an army where you can tell they've decided my army is going to be these two colors. And then as they go through, sometimes there just isn't a very good spot to be using one of those colors. And so they really crowbar it in. And what I mean by that, it's like there's some minor detail on a shoulder. So say it's like, okay, you got this big shoulder with this whatever detail, and then one of the things is like, oh, there's this eagle over here. And so normally it's probably something that's supposed to be less pronounced and it's a little bit more minor, but because they really want to get that color in there, what they do is, okay, that's the thing you're going to make red, that's the thing you're going to make blue, purple, whatever crazy color they picked, and then it just really seems out of sorts, right? Just this shoulder, which should not be a main focus of the model, all of a sudden your eye is naturally ripped towards it because it's this crazy color that you did not expect it to be. And I know I'm bad for that sometimes too, so hopefully I can avoid that. Oh, she has pouches on her shoulder. Who does that? One of the things I didn't understand too before I started painting this model is I could tell that she had like these long dangly things on her dress, and I thought there's some sort of decoration or whatever. Turned out they're bullets, and I guess it makes sense because she has a sniper rifle, but man, these bullets are freaking huge. For size-wise, they are probably the length of her forearm. So, you know, like this is your bullet that big. And I guess, you know, I'm no sniper. I don't know what type of bullets typically go into a sniper rifle, but they seem pretty big. One thing that's kind of interesting on the War Machine side is that right now they are doing play testing for the War Machine beta for 2015. So a lot of the press gangers got their packages. If you have not heard about this, go have a chat with your press ganger, because right now is the time where we're supposed to be practicing these. You know, that's why Privateer Press sent those out, so that you can check those scenarios, see if they work, see if you have any feedback, and get back them. And right now, there's a lot of interesting changes. One of the ones that I like the most, or I think I'm going to like the most, is they always had those objectives. And they started a while back, I think it was 2 editions ago, like 2 years ago for Steamroller, that they decided, let's start giving these things actual different abilities. And so this is where you have like, oh, this one does fuel, this one does valor, blah, blah, blah. This one has priority. Well, what they said now is that when you make your list, you have to decide which one of those abilities you're going to take. And some of them are really interesting. Again, fuel is in there. So if you want to be making a list, which is all about, hey, I'm going to go out there and I want to be charging with these jacks for free, hey, take fuel. And then whenever you play that one, your guys can go and get those free charges. Another one is where I believe they said that it just gives you cover. So if you have one of those weaker casters that just wants to find a place in the back to hide, well, that's great. I'll take this one as cover, and I can just be hiding at this thing. So really pretty interesting. Of course, you'll never know until it's fully out and used what type of loopholes there is for it and how people will try and break the system. But right now, I can't wait to try it. later this week is where I'll be meeting with one of the local press gangers to give them a try. So we'll see how they go. Another good change I like from the new Steamroller package is the change to the old random one, Incursion. So 2 years ago, when you did Incursion, there's 3 flags across the screen, and randomly at the end of turn one of them would disappear. So it really forced this weird thing where you want to spread out to be able to deal with whatever flag disappears, and then if you put your chips in on one side and that disappears, you're just kind of screwed. And I guess the worst for someone, when you have an army designed to work together and the center flag disappears, well, then you're just screwed. Well, in 2014, they changed that one. So, all right, we realized that when the center flag disappears, that's really bad. So from now on, the middle one does not disappear. It has to be one of the outside ones. So that was a really good change they made. And now what they said instead is nothing disappears. None of those flags will go away. They're guaranteed all to be there. Now, it doesn't matter whether you control it or dominate it with your caster. It will only be worth 1 point. But hey, at least now you're not going to get screwed over, and you're not going to have somebody win or lose a game just because of what random flag disappeared. So really, really happy to see that change, because like I've already kind of said, I thought that was kind of their weakest scenario. I mean, I can kind of see where maybe they're trying to lead your hand and do not take these big blocky lists, just like how, hey, we have scenarios that force you into the center, so you can't just stay at the backboard and shoot, because if you do that, they'll win by going in. So maybe they're trying to use Incursion to force people to take more mobile lists that don't just force themselves together, but it was just too much. Especially because even if you have one player where, okay, I'm not going to dedicate on either side, I'm going to play and I'll shift whatever way it goes. You know, they're going to play it safe. Well, the problem is that you have no control over what your opponent does. So if your opponent goes like, hey, I'm going way over on the left, let's flip that coin and see who has the advantage. You know, if they get that advantage, all right, you know, there's literally nothing I could do in deployment to stop that. So again, really happy that it changed. And as well, it's just great to have Privateer Press doing this whole beta version type thing, right? In fantasy, wow, I wish they would have had that in fantasy where, hey, guys, no coming out. Here are the possible scenarios we're thinking of using. So we're going to send this all of our Grey Knights, the thing that doesn't exist anymore, that people used to do this for GW, and hey, go and try out these scenarios and get back to us. Let us know how they work. No, they don't do that. It's frustrating because they can make such great scenarios and have a great game, but they just keep that in-house. I believe they did that a ways back when they had the trial combat rules, where GW decided they are going to really change the way that they're going to be doing combat. And so they actually came out with this separate book that I believe was a book, maybe it was in a White Dwarf. I was pretty sure it was just a completely separate book that had these trial rules in them. So this is where they called it the edition whatever .5. Right now I can't remember which edition that was, but it was a ways back. But you know, right there, it was just great to see them get the community's input and saying, hey, we have this drastic change. We don't want to completely just sink our company by doing something stupid. So how about you guys test it out? Let the company know what you think. And it's a win-win for everybody. And I just don't know why, after they did that so well the one time, that they go back after and say, okay, from now on, screw you guys. We'll just make our own changes. So meanwhile, I can see again, I got a little handful of viewers here. I'm going to reload again, see if there's anything you guys want me to chat about. Normally by now, I mean, like half an hour into this, normally you guys have some questions for me. Nothing so far, unless this thing is just going crazy again, not showing me. Well, my model's come a long ways. I mean, halfway through, and I'm going to get this model done. Oh, of course. So I'm just going to keep on going at this, and I'll wait and see if any comments come up. But, you know, this Sloan character here, again, I'm looking forward to playing her because I think more than anything else, just the fact that nobody else typically runs her. She is seen as one of the weaker casters, at least for Signar. If nothing else, just because she's overshadowed by Kane 2 most of the time. But the problem is, while I was working on this, one of my buddies started running her as well. So hopefully he maybe has that out of his system. So well, I guess there's nothing wrong with both of us running her. But when you're one of your main reasons for running a caster is because nobody else is, and then all of a sudden other people start running it, kind of loses that uniqueness. I'm just painting the wood on the bottom of this sniper rifle, and the more that I do, the more I realize that this isn't really looking like the details that it should be for wood. I'm pretty sure this gun is actually designed to be metal all the way, but too bad. This Sloan likes it old school. She's going with the nice oak. I don't know the components of a gun. I'm not going to even pretend and insult the viewers that do. You know, I have a father-in-law. He's a hunter and all this stuff, and an outdoorsman. And, you know, I define myself as an outdoorsman too because I love to go camping and all that, but I don't know the real things of, like, the names of the different components of the gun. I know what the barrel is. That counts, you know. I remember there was when I first married my wife, and he learned that I did archery. He's like, "Oh, that's great. You know, we got to do some bow hunting." Whoa, 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 whoa. You know, I shoot my bow at little targets, right? I go to the range, and I'd spend a few hours just sitting there, and I'll just shoot targets. That's my thing. I would just do that to relax. It was all nice and relaxing, and I'm not killing anything. And all of a sudden, it's like, "Oh, yeah, let's go shoot some deer." It's like, it's not really my thing. And especially with the rest of her family, though, they're a lot like that too. One of the stories I like telling what their side is, when we went to go meet part of her family there, we were serving some moose meat. And they're like, "Oh yeah, try this moose." And I tried it. I was like, "Wow, this is delicious. You know, this is so good." So I ate up all this moose meat, and it wasn't until after that they told us that it was roadkill. You know, I was like, "Really?" You know, I'm not against you going and hunting. You know, I thought that was great, and I was going to eat it up. But it's a little bit different if you actually just went and pulled it off the road. "Oh, no, no, no. You know, there's a system. You go out there, and if you find some roadkill, you actually go and you mark it, right? And then you drive past, and then again, and then you know that anything that's not marked, that's fresh." It's like, it's not fresh. You know, it's still been ran over by a truck or whatever, right? It's not something you want to eat. How do you say this name? Doc Lee GB says, "I predict you will return to Warhammer Fantasy in 9th edition. You can't stay away. You're missed." I know I'm missed, and I miss you guys too. I'm still am a member of the Warhammer YouTubers page, and I'm still subscribed to a lot of the guys there, so I can see when they do battle reports and things like that. Like I was already mentioning with the report that Anthony put up, but we'll really have to see what 9th does. I am not encouraged by what I'm seeing so far of the direction going with these end time books, but you never know, right? I mean, I'm not going to say, no, I'm not going to come back. I saved my orcs and goblins. They're down there. I got freaking 1,500, or sorry, 1,500, 15,000 points of orcs and goblins downstairs. So if it turns out that, ninth is amazing and just what I always hoped it would be, fantastic. I can play again. I'm still really focusing on War Machine, and I got this goal of wanting to make it onto Team Canada. It would just be so amazing, right? This whole goal of getting onto Team Canada, to Ireland in 2015, getting to play for my country, even though there's not that recognition. It's not like the Olympics where it's televised, and if I win, it's like, yeah, on the papers, nobody would know except for like the nerdy elite who actually even follow this stuff. But it'd be fun. I'd very much enjoy it, and it's just one of those highest levels to compete. And the good news is that I've already am, like I said, starting to see the fruits of my labor. So top 3 placements in the last 2 tournaments I went to, and in the last event I went, there was, out of the undefeated guys, it's just me and these other Team Canada people going into the last round. So here I am with these people. I'm at that same level, and the guy that I came so close to beating, he was actually the captain of Team Canada for one of the teams. So, I'm so close. I'm at that level. If I can just really focus, I can be there, right? So I think what I'm trying to get around to is that even if Night came out right now and was amazing, I still would be focused on War Machine. I'm sure I would be starting to do more fantasy again. So whereas right now it's completely out, if Ninth came out now and was everything I wanted it to be, I don't think I could stop myself. I mean, really, I keep saying that I want to focus just on War Machine. But, actually, now that I think of it, to be honest, I think I would be drawn back in, at least to be doing 1 game a month type thing, if nothing else, just to play it, to try it, to enjoy it. I don't think I'd be doing tournaments for it. I'd probably still be focusing tournaments for War Machine. But, yeah, basically what I'm trying to say is for you guys who are hoping I come back to fantasy, it is possible in the future. He comes back again and says, sorry to hijack your Paintisode. I just enjoy your vids. Have fun with your hobby. And, yeah, I mean, a lot of people have said that too. It was really good to see the number of people who are, let's call it, mature with it, where they're not like, yeah, you're finally with War Machine. War Machine's the best. Or, boo, you left fantasy. You're a traitor. But it was great to see the number of people who are just supporting, saying, hey, the number one thing is for you to do something that you enjoy, right? The whole point of a hobby is something that you do recreational, fun. Definitely that's what this is. Again, I mean, the more little details I paint on this model, the more I like it. I think that's, again, though, part of the fact where you just almost never see her. Unfortunately, that's going to be one of the problems, too, is that I really suffer from the desire to go and run janky, crazy lists. It's not even so much I want to be different, and they call it the unique snowflake syndrome. It's not so much that I just want to be different, as opposed to I believe that I can analyze it and find different ways to list that people won't expect. And it's more along the lines of then running a dark horse, where people will look at my list and say, what the hell are you trying to do? And they just have no idea. And then all of a sudden my grand scheme comes together, and haha, I have just defeated you with whatever. A good example of that is one with Legion, where I really wanted to be running Proteus. Just a second. Got some gold where it's not supposed to be. Ah, crap. With Epic Lilith. And, Proteus is pretty garbage, most people say. I think that he has a lot of uses. But especially Epic Lilith. I mean, why are you taking this combat guy with with a shooty supporting Warlock. And it's just because with all that synergy, you can make it work for these crazy drag assassinations, where that's what the Proteus does. Shoots out his little tentacles, blah, 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 and he can pull in something from far away. And so with her ability to give snipe, so that you're giving the +4 range, you can have a Seraph, which will give it another +2 because of Slipstream. You can pull a model from far away, and because of the feat again, you get 2 tries at it. What that really means is that you just have to kind of clear a lane, pull that caster in, and bam, you can actually get a pretty easy kill if you get that lane open. So I actually never got it to work. I only tried it a handful of times, but again, that's one of those things where it's not going to work because it's an amazing idea. It's probably going to work because people don't see it coming, right? Proteus, this guy's a joker. He doesn't know what he's doing. They get a little bit sloppy, a little bit careless, then bam, their caster gets dragged in, and it's too late. It's game over. So, but anyway, what I was getting to I keep on kind of going on tangents there, but what I was trying to say is that they want me to be playing a more solid and reliable game. So what I'll probably do is that when I go over for gaming with friends who are more in it, more for the hobby side, I will probably, and then for those ones, try and take out those jank lists. And then when it's tournament time, or for the gamers that are more competitive, all right, then I'll bring out my more tournament lists. This model's coming along. How much time do I got now? Still got another 15 minutes. And you know what? If I need a little bit extra time to finish this, it's my channel. I'll make this one go late. It's not that big of a deal. Nobody's really got me on the, going to be kicking me off. Still surprised you guys are quiet. Last time I had a whole bunch of questions, and so I keep on waiting for this to happen, but it's not so much this time. Oh, here we go. Here we go. I just reloaded. I got tons on here. So, John Feed saying, I like how everyone who is extreme sounds like a USA Southerner. And then he also comes back and says, and the overconfident guy was the from the Jersey Shore. We have Whoopi. Hey, Whoopi, how's it going? He says, lol, I entered in with you defending your choice about dropping Warhammer Fantasy. It's great to hear about your success in War Machine. What's your plans on War Machine content? Well, I got that. Just coming back here again. I'm already starting those. So just like how I started with my Fantasy one, I have to get out the videos that get out the basics first. So I have to explain how the game is and really basic concepts. And then once that's done, that's when I can come back. And I plan to be doing almost just like I do with the Orc Tactical teams, where we're going to be coming in and trying to attack very specific problems. But first, before even that, I'll need to be doing a video that talks about each of the casters, and there's a lot of casters out there, and it really won't be until I'm done all that as well. Oh man, there we go, fixed it. That I can then come back again and start talking more about pairings and all these other things. So really lots of War Machine content. I mean, of course, there'll be the battle reports too, so that's coming. So expect a lot of different War Machine stuff. Unfortunately, I did a video last night that was talking more about the win conditions, both in regular games and in tournaments and the way you prepare for it. But my mic, I don't know if the kids are playing with what, but it is just giving crap sound, really, really crap sound. So I'm just using my webcam mic again today, but that video unfortunately was ruined, so I can't really do that one. Doc Lee GB coming back and saying, I hope you square off with Vol SC someday at World Champs, perhaps. I don't even know if I don't think he plays at that level, I want to call it. I know he's a very competitive player, but if he was actually part of the WTC, which I'm sure at his level he could be, he would be posting that on his channel, but he never posted anything about that. So I don't think he is. Unfortunately, they do post all the people who played in the WTC, but unfortunately, I don't know what Vol SC's real name is, so I can't even tell you if he was part of the WTC. I know that coming over from, I believe he's in New Zealand, that's a hefty flight bill. So anyone who wants to invest, like coming from Canada, the guys who went to this last one in Poland there, I think it was $5,000 per person that wanted to do this. So coming over from New Zealand, where you always hear for the GW stuff, it's so expensive because of shipping things in and out and all the rest of it. I could see how even if he could be on the WTC, maybe he just doesn't even want to be because it'd be so expensive. So as much as I'd really love to play against Vols SC, back when I was doing the online games, where basically I would set up the game at my place and then over Skype, I'd have the person tell me where they want to move and all that stuff. I invited him to be doing a game like that with me, and he wasn't interested at all. So that was unfortunate. But who knows? That would be great. Just like how Once Bitten was one of the guys who first got me into YouTube. Vol SC would be the other one. So it'd be nice to eventually get a game with him. And especially on his level, he is one of these guys that's very competitive and tournament oriented. So it would just be really interesting to see what he would take against me. I don't even know. He doesn't post enough. He was doing Kador for a while. He also has Menoth. I know he also has Circle. So I don't know what he'd even would use now in the current meta. That'd actually be really interesting if I could actually start doing like a weekly or monthly show with Vol SC. But, I'm guessing he's a little bit busy. I mean, like I was already saying, he does not post very often. It's one of those things that whenever he posts, it's like, wow, it's Vol SC. And then it'll be another half a year before his next video comes out, which is very unfortunate. And then when he does, I mean, now when he posts his battles, they're just the huge ones where there's like, we're doing 200 points and it's 3 casters and it's crazy, super insane. And although it's really neat to see the game played at that size, and he said before too that he believes the game's more balanced at that size. The real issue is that because most people don't play at that size, it just doesn't really have the same draw to everybody. So back when he was doing his tournament reports, back when he was doing his regular games at 50 points, those, you can really look at those and go, oh, wow, okay, you took this, you did this, oh, okay, that's neat. But when you watch one of those larger games, you don't really have a lot of takeaways that you can apply to your regular stuff. I mean, sure, it's like, oh, wow, I forgot about that interaction with that spell, or I didn't really realize you could do this. So there's still those, but and you know what? Looking at that too, it makes me wonder about when I did my own large games, not for War Machine, but for Fantasy. The times where I did 8,000 points or 10,000 points. Did people look at those and say like, oh, well, okay, that's kind of interesting, but I can't really use any of this because it won't really apply to my games. And I know that's one of the things that people were asking a lot more of actually on my channel. It's like, when are you going to do another big game? I can't wait to do another big game. Those are actually kind of hard to arrange. I know when I announced I was getting out of Fantasy, some of the local guys were like, yeah, we have to do one last big, huge game, and we'll do this and this, and it'll be like 10,000 points a player and this and that. But it kind of died down and got quiet, and I don't blame them because it's a lot to set up, to have that many points on the table, especially when they're talking like 4 players, each having 10,000 points type thing. like that, it takes up a lot of room. You need to have a big table and a lot of time to play that game. The times that I did 8,000 points, that was on a 10 by 5 foot table, and I believe the game took roughly what was it, 6 hours, I believe. And I'm a fast player, so I can only imagine for someone else who plays a little bit slower. If you want to do a game that size, you're taking up like maybe in multiple days, right? So I think I've done almost this entire model. Everything on the lower skirt I'm happy with. Everything on the gun. I wrecked the scope a little bit. I got to fix that. I think I only have the face left. So I'm getting very, very, very close. And I'm sure we're over the hour now. No, we're not quite. We got 9 minutes. I don't know if you guys even care about this, but I like trying to keep this to roughly an hour. I know for some people this is really late. Then again, there's others who, come on, man, I'm painting. Make this thing longer. Give me a 3-hour Paintisode. Well, my voice gets a little bit dry after a while. Yeah, typical. I refresh the comments to see if there's anything else, and I actually have comments that have disappeared. So, whatever. I'd be tempted actually to invite people like Whoopi into these conversations, but I think if I started stealing fantasy players away and all of a sudden I got Whoopi playing War Machine and pulling away whoever else, people are like, hey, Malorian, jackass, stop wrecking the hobby. It's one thing that you left, but don't take everything with you. And there are a lot of people that have wanted to come over and check things out. A lot of old subscribers, not fantasy, War Machine. Maybe they used to play War Machine and they want to get back into it. So, but I am noticing for this one that the viewers are dipping away. I'm guessing that it's getting a little bit late. I've also noticed that War Machine guys don't normally have as many questions for this sort of thing. When Chain Attack does their Twitch feed and people are on their live and they have questions, it's usually not so much the questions about the tactics. Usually a lot more people have questions about more technical things like, oh, what is your store like? What do you guys use for recording? This is so bad. Currently, I'm just putting the lipstick on this lady, and it's just all over the face. Normally, with the toothpick, I can get it a lot better, but she has really weird lips, and this is not going on well at all. I don't know why I determined that all girls have to have lipstick on. Oh man, this is making it worse. It's like it's like if a 3-year-old put on a lipstick. It's just lipstick. I can fix that, but wow, it is horrendous. I would show you, but you can't see, right? Look at that. See, look how bad that lipstick is, right? You can almost see it. You can almost see that there's just a blob of pink, right? It looks like somebody just took she got shot in the face with a pink paintball. Just and there you go. You're all ready for the summer dance. This thing updated, but it didn't really put anything else there. We'll do the eyes. We'll do a wash, and we'll be all done. One of the things that I am also getting a lot more questions on is just to do more videos on specific factions. So I already did the video where I covered what all the different factions are, just to give you a broad sweep of what the War Machine universe is like. But people have come back saying they want to have specific tactics on specific factions. Well, one of the things that could actually come up and be more useful is that if I actually have these people come on. So let's say, for example, even though I know he's not dealing with them anymore, let's say Anthony wanted to work on his circle list. Well, probably instead of me trying to go and say, this is what I would do for circle, which really only has a limited, it's so bad before I clean it up, a limited use. If I have somebody else coming on and saying, hey, this is my take on circle, this is what this list is designed to do. And when you have that background saying, not only this is a list, what do you think of it? This is a list and this is what I want it to do. It's a lot easier to then take that and say, well, if you're trying to do this, maybe you want to try changing this instead. Or maybe you could try deploying it this way or using this separate tactic. So I can be a lot more helpful that way. I don't know what we would call that segment or how we would make that work, but definitely if you have a list or an idea that you want to go over, just let me know. And I'll give you that heads up right now that don't expect you can ask me about any faction and I can tell you everything you need to know. I might have to kind of send you away to another source depending on what it is, but I'll do my best with whatever knowledge I have. Like, for example, if you have questions about conversions, I would just save your breath. I don't even know their names. Same thing with retribution. If you have any questions about them, chances are I can't really help you. Man, okay, so I've touched it up now. So I touched up the makeup, I've touched up the eyes, and now she still looks like she has Down syndrome or something, but it's the way it's going to have to be. Paint on some eyebrows, and we are good to go. And I'll check one more time, see if anybody else posted any more questions. Nope. Nothing new. I saw, to talk about the Avengers a little bit, this whole thing where they're going to be having the superheroes fighting each other. Now, this takes me past from what I watched, or rather read as a kid. I was really young when I was into the comics, so all these new things are really way past me, and I never really experienced them from the comic part. So whether some things are right or wrong, I really can't give you that insight. Now, what it is it almost sounds just like how it was with the X-Men, where, oh, we want to have this whole system where you have to put in your identity and you have to, if you're a superhero, you have to be logged and registered and all this. And then the superheroes, some think that that's right, some think that it's wrong. And in particular, Captain America and Iron Man are on opposing beliefs on this. And so they start fighting. And so one thing that's already been put forward is that the next Captain America is called, I believe it's called Civil War. And it's going to be really just about these guys fighting over that. So it's really, and I think this is a great idea, because just like how in the previous Avengers, people loved it, where Thor and Iron Man and Captain America were fighting in the forest. Well, go with that idea even more, right? Okay, well, this movie is about them fighting, and I think it's going to be great. A lot of people I hear are starting to get tired of the whole superhero thing, and I'm not really interested in this. I can't get enough of it. It doesn't really matter if you have a superhero show that's coming out. I'll watch it. I'll love it. I just noticed a few more details on the gun while I wait for her face to dry. I've made that mistake more than once, where I go on, I paint the face, as far as the eyes and the lipstick and all the rest of the stuff. And then I go straight to my wash, and I just really smear those colors around. So you spend all that time trying to make it not super shitty, and then just smear it around like some, well, I want to say like amateur or noob or whatever, but I am. We have no doubts here that I'm a super painter. I paint it so it's good enough to be on the board, as I've said many, many, many times. And I believe is at that spot. I have painted all the details within reason. There's no way I'm going to bother with highlights or anything. So I just have to do my wash, and that's going to be it. But anyway, I mean, this new Avengers with them in the Age of Ultron, that looks like it's going to be fantastic. On the other side, still waiting to see how Ben Affleck is going to be for Batman, and this whole idea of, Batman versus Superman, and then they're going to be bringing in Wonder Woman and one for the Flash. We got the Deadpool movie coming, right? There's just so much good, and I'm so excited for it. But it's just so interesting hearing the people. They're like, nope, this is too much. I'm just done with the whole superhero thing. So whereas to me, this is just like almost like a golden age of superhero movies. To them, it's just like, no, it's overkill. They jumped the shark. I'm done. Give me something else now. I mean, especially, like for the DC side of it, when you saw how well Avengers did with them doing a Justice League, I mean, you'd only assume it's going to be just as amazing. And they haven't seen the sales go down, right? Like the Avengers, when that came out, it's just the top. It was the highest income, whatever, box office hit for superhero movies, and then just for regular movies as well. It also made crazy amounts of money. So I can see no reason why they don't want to be slowing down. Wow. The wash did not help this face at all. She looks, how am I going to define this face now, how it looks? Before, she looked like she had Down syndrome. Now, even with the lipstick, I think she looks like a man, a very angry man who has been dressed up as a woman and then given a sniper rifle. I'm glad that when I play, I watch it from the other side. So, the back, like, wow, that's, the backpack is really well done. That face, oh, okay, let's keep it the other way. Ugh. Yeah, that normally I feel that I do faces okay. This one did not go okay. But either way, I am done. We got to the hour, so hey, we got then the model in the hour. I would love to hear, as always, what you guys were working on. If there's any other questions you have for me, post those. I'll do my best to come back here and answer them. And either way, I'll be doing this every single week. So come back this time. I'll be here, and we can paint together and answer some questions. So we'll see you then. Bye.